Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Nate here. And Skyrim is an enormous place that offers an equally enormous amount of things to do. Whether you feel like saving the world from a dragon conquest, or just chopping some wood to make an honest living, The Elder Scrolls V has got you covered. Though well over 7 years after its initial release in 2011, you'd think that by now surely you're aware of all the activities Skyrim boasts, right? Well, this RPG is indeed so large that if you're of that mindset, there's a pretty good chance you might be wrong, and some things may still have slipped by. So today we'll be taking a look at 5 more things you probably didn't know you could do in The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, Part 20. Starting off, this one's pretty neat. As you're probably aware, walking around with a sword drawn can elicit some pretty humorous comments from guards and passerbys, who make it clear that they're a bit uneasy with you walking around in public waving a blade around.
God might get nervous, a man approaches with his weapon drawn.
However, what you may not have known is that if you enter a store or tavern with your weapon drawn and leave it out and about for a while, a Radiant World interaction may be triggered, wherein the owner of the establishment will demand that you put it away.
That weapon breaks my wares, we're gonna have us a real problem.
And if you don't heed to their warnings, after a few seconds, they can actually approach and enter dialogue with you, where they once again issue their demands, this time in a much sterner tone.
You, weapon, put it away, now!
From here, the Dragonborn can either agree to put their sharp toys away, de-escalating the confrontation, ask the shopkeeper why you need to put your sword away, which will only make them more angry, or straight up refuse, and instead dare them to take the weapon away from you. Doing so will only make them more angry, but ultimately they won't really do anything about it.
I trust I won't have to, but I'll bust your head in if you cause problems for my patrons.
Now, until working on this video, I never had one of these confrontations, and I think that's largely due to me rarely equipping items unless I need to. But it also appears that whether or not a store owner calls you out for this behavior, and how angrily they do it, is dependent on their own personalities, as well as a bit of chance. As some establishment owners will be completely fine with you carrying swords into their workplaces, simply asking that you don't break anything. It's only certain characters that'll actually get on your case about it. This seems to work most often with characters with the male orc or male brute voice types, but that's just what I've noticed. Anyhow, if you're looking to get into heated conversation and almost get thrown out of a few shops, I suppose you can. Next on our list, Engranor Once Honored is a Nord beggar living in Windhelm. According to him, he was once a proud and accomplished Stormcloak soldier fighting on the front lines. But after sustaining some rather significant injuries on the battlefield, he was forced to return to his home city, where his wounds had prevented him from being able to find work, and now he's forced to beg. A pretty sad and sympathetic tale. However, when you first meet him, he'll be hurling insults at a defenseless lone dark elven woman, so I guess that kind of evens it out. But there's something pretty weird you can do involving Engranor that I'm willing to bet most of us didn't know. You see, Aventus Artino is a young Nord boy who recently fled from Honorhall Orphanage in Riften, back to his now abandoned home in Windhelm. Both his parents have passed away, so he's there all by himself. During the quest, Innocence Lost, he'll hire the player to assassinate the cruel headmistress of his old orphanage. After you do so, he'll pay handsomely, and return to the orphanage, once more leaving his home abandoned. You'll also get kidnapped by the Dark Brotherhood, starting a whole nother rabbit hole. But that's neither here nor there. After Innocence Lost has been completed, and Aventus is out of the home, you'll be able to pickpocket a key to the house out of Engranor Once Honored's inventory. This, of course, doesn't make any sense. Engranor and Aventus have pretty much no relationship or connection to one another. So why suddenly, after completing Innocence Lost, a key to Aventus's house spawns in the beggar's inventory seems like a pretty big mystery. However, there does appear to be a somewhat logical explanation behind this, and it lies in cut content. Unused dialogue and some scripts reveal that Bethesda had intended for Engranor to in fact move into the Artino residence after Aventus left as a squatter. He'd argue that the Artinos liked him enough and he was basically family. Besides, not like anyone else would need the house, and he's homeless. So he just decided to break in and make it his. Or at least, that's how the quest would go. The dialogue has already been recorded, and the scripts seem fine, so it's rather unclear what made Bethesda decide not to go through with implementing this event in the game. Just take a listen to some of what Ingranor would say.
What? Were you hoping to claim this house for yourself? Well, the Aratinos always liked me, so I think I'm family enough to take up here. Rumor holds that Aratino boy brought an assassin here. Sounds like nonsense to me.
Whatever the reason Bethesda removed this quest, they forgot to remove the key from Ingranor's inventory. So, if you ever need a spare, there you go, I guess. Coming in at number 3, Daedric is the most powerful standard armor type offered in the vanilla game. It looks incredibly spooky, and is quite difficult to obtain until the late game. But my gosh, is it not worth it for the appearance and the stats. But an interesting quirk about Daedric armor that's easy to miss is that it doesn't just look intimidating. It actually is intimidating. Okay, I probably did a poor job explaining that. Allow me to elaborate. Daedric armor, when worn as a full set, will bestow a hidden active effect on the player, improving your chances of success when using intimidation speech options by 10%, reflecting the fact that other people in the world are afraid of your armor. As mentioned, Skyrim doesn't really make an effort to tell you that it's happening. In fact, the only reason we know this happens is because of the game's backend, and I wasn't even alerted to it until someone commented. But no matter, it's neat to know that somebody at Bethesda decided to go that extra little mile just for the fun of it. For 4th spot, J'zargo is a young Khajiit student studying away at the College of Winterhold. The feline's personality is defined by his arrogance and sense of superiority in his magical skill compared to his peers, yourself included. But his overconfidence comes across as more adorable than annoying, and honestly it's kind of welcome. After the Dragonborn has progressed far enough into the college's storyline, he'll offer you a quest. Recently, J'zargo's been working to create his own set of flame scrolls that specifically can be used against the undead. He thinks that he's finally gotten it figured out, but now needs someone to test them, hence where you come in. The kitty will ask that you visit a dungeon, try out the scrolls on some Draugr, or any other undead foe, and report back to him. This is the basis for the short quest, J'zargo's Experiment, and it's really simple. All you need to do is damage 3 undead enemies using the scrolls that J'zargo gives you, and he gives you 12 of them. Plus, each can be used to hit multiple enemies, so you don't need to worry about running out or anything. Long story short, well, really it's not that long of a story. Quick story made quicker, simply follow the instructions, and you'll find that the spells don't work all that great. It's not that they don't damage your enemies, but they also damage you. A lot. So after you've done your duty and used the scrolls against 3 opponents, report back to J'zargo and he'll thank you for your help, apologize for the mishap, and offer himself as a follower in gratitude, completing the quest. So what's the big deal here? Why am I mentioning this interaction in such a video? Well, remember how I stated that you don't need to worry about running out of scrolls before you complete the mission? Well, it's still technically possible to do so, if you decide to simply drop them all on the ground, or just waste all 12 of your spells, you'll suddenly fail your objective, and be sent to report back to the fellow student and tell him that you ran out. This will unlock some unique dialogue, wherein your furry friend will briefly scold the player, refusing to give you any more scrolls, and ultimately telling you to just forget he ever even asked for your help, failing the quest, and making J'zargo permanently unavailable as a companion.
And? Were they magnificent? You what? But how could you run out? J'zargo gave you more than enough. Just forget J'zargo ever asked for your help.
I personally wouldn't advise doing this in a serious playthrough. As I've said before, J'zargo is probably my favorite follower. However, if you are looking to upset a kitty, give it a go. And finally, last on our list, you can make meat bleed. I know, this comes across as really strange, but swinging a weapon or firing off an arrow at most meat-based foods in the game will result in them splattering with blood. Anything from cooked beef to hanging pheasants will carry this effect. Something that isn't made out of flesh, like bread or cups, will not result in any blood splatter. So Bethesda clearly did this on purpose. Funnily enough, For whatever reason, cheese wheels, of all things, are also capable of emitting the effect as well. I have absolutely no idea why, but I'm going to avoid eating that stuff in the game for quite a while. Quite frankly, there's not too much more to say about this whole thing. The effect does make a lot of sense with things like raw beef or steak, but cutting into a cooked salmon and watching it bleed all over the place is quite a bit unnerving. No matter, I suppose that just goes to show the importance of knowing what you're putting into your body. I guess. Anyway, on that helpful note, we are going to wrap up. 5 more things you probably didn't know you could do in The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim Part 5. Thanks for stopping by, everyone. Which of the facts and features that we explored today did you find to be the coolest or most interesting? Which did you already know, and what tiny details or hidden Easter eggs have I yet to cover? Leave a comment down below. As always, like ratings are very much appreciated. Again, thanks for watching, and I hope to catch you all in my next video. Peace out, everybody.